Hey guys, Carl from Purple Misplaced. Today I've got another Kickstarter preview for you, and I'm taking a look at a prototype of Death Valley, an upcoming card drafting, tableau building game with more than just a little bit of push your luck from Button Shy Games and designer Kevin Ellenburg, in which 1 to 2 players find themselves traversing through the Death Valley, building their journey and pausing along the way to sort of reflect on their memories and scrapbook all of the wonderful things they've seen along the way. As normal, I will be doing a solo playthrough of this game, and I should mention before we get started that I was given this prototype by the publisher, but as always, I will make all of my decisions and make all of my own opinions clear in this video, and if not, there's always the playthrough for you to watch as well. So let's head down to the playthrough and I'll meet you back up here to let you know what I think of the game. To set up a solo game of Death Valley, begin by shuffling the cards and placing the shuffle deck off to the side of the playing area. You'll then take the top card and turn it face up to finish setup. These 2 cards, meaning the face up card here and the top face down card here, are making up the desert. And in this game, you're going to be traveling through the desert, recording your journey as you go, resting along the way to record some of your memories into your scrapbook. What that means mechanically is you're going to have 2 rows that you're building through the game. The top row is going to be your journey row, and the bottom row will be your scrapbook, where you're keeping your memories of the journey. On your turn, you're going to have several options. Your first option is you can draft this face up card, either placing it in your own journey or placing it up here in the AI's journey. Otherwise, you could take this top face down card, but in that case, you can only add it to your own journey. When you add a card to your journey, you always place it in the furthest right position in your journey. The other option you have on your turn is if you have cards in your journey, you can choose to rest, which means you will move one of the cards from your journey row down into the scrapbook row. And when you do that, there are 2 other optional things that you might also do at the same time. When you move a card down into your scrapbook, you also have the option to take any of the cards from your journey and place them behind the card you are moving into the scrapbook, and those cards will become hidden cards. The other option you have is when you're moving a card into the scrapbook, any other cards in your journey can also be shuffled back into the deck if you would like to remove them from your journey. As you're placing cards, you're going to score points based on these stars, but stars will only score in your journey row and not in your scrapbook row. There will also be some specific scoring conditions that might be on the cards. For example, this card says you score 3 points if it's adjacent to another animal. And there will also be cards that have special abilities printed in that bottom box. The other thing you're going to be looking at is this hazard symbol in the corner. And this hazard symbol is going to be a problem if you ever have 3 of those anywhere in your tableau, either journey or scrapbook. So for example, as I start placing cards out, here's an animal, here's desert heat, here's water, here's heat. Maybe on my next turn I rest and it comes down here and I decide I would like to tuck this water behind it. And I keep going. All right, now I've got 3 of these sun symbols. As soon as a 3rd symbol of any hazard comes out, the rightmost card containing that hazard in your journey is immediately removed from the game. And the rest of the cards in your journey then get shuffled back into the deck. And you're going to keep playing this way until all of the cards except 1 have been taken from the deck, at which point the game ends at the end of that turn. Now, this was just a sort of quick run through to show you how the system works. In addition to your own turns, there will also be an AI player in this game. And the way the AI works is this. On the AI's turn, it's going to look at the hazard symbol here on the card that is showing in the desert. If this hazard symbol would cause me to bust, the AI player will give it to me. And therefore, I will bust, that card will be discarded, and all of the other cards in my journey will get shuffled back into the deck. If that card will not cause me to bust, the AI will then check to see if it has that hazard symbol in its journey. In this case, it does not. And this is not causing me to bust in the current situation, so the AI would take that card and add it to its own journey. If, however, In this case, this card does not cause me to bust, so it does not get placed in my journey. This card is already represented in the AI's journey. In that case, the AI will immediately take the topmost card face down at the top of the deck and add that card into its journey. And again, the AI will bust in exactly the same way we do. If it ever has 3 of the same hazard symbol, the rightmost card of that hazard gets discarded or removed from the game, and all other cards get shuffled back into the journey. So that's basically the overview of the game. All of the small minutiae of the game should hopefully come out as I get into my playthrough. So I'm going to go ahead and reset and get right into my playthrough. And then hopefully every question that you have remaining will sort of work itself out as we play. All right, so then we're all set up for a playthrough. I get to start as the human player, and I get to, again, choose from either this face-up card, this face-down card. I can't rest because I don't have anything in my journey yet. And this card is a water card. It does not have any stars, which means I don't mind having this in my scrapbook. And what it's going to do is it's going to give me 3 points if there's a card both on the left side and right side of this card. It's not great right now. So I may actually hold off and not take that and instead take the top card just to see what I get. And I get this. It's a sun. I've got 2 points if it's in my journey, and I get +1 point for every 2 stars in my journey. This is actually a great card to start off with, so I'm going to place that here in my journey. Now it's the AI's turn. It's going to first check this. This is water. I do not have 2 water in my journey and or scrapbook, so this will not cause me to bust. So the next thing the AI does is check to see if it has that water, and it does not. So this will be added to the AI's journey, and we'll turn over the next card. All right, now my turn. This one's really good. This is a water card. It gets me 1 point if it's in my journey, but what this does is it says if I bust, I can choose a card that's next to this card in my journey and prevent that card from being shuffled back into the deck. So if I place this here right now, it's going to make me save this card even if I bust, and that's pretty cool. So I'm going to let that stay. I'll turn over the next card. It's a mountain. I don't have any mountains, so it won't cause me to bust. The AI does not have any mountains either, so it's going to take that card, and we'll turn over the top card of the deck. Next, scorpions. It's my turn. This scores me points, 2 points for each adjacent mountain. I don't have any mountains, and it doesn't give me any regular points. It's worth mentioning now, I forgot to mention, the AI scores based on the stars just like we do. But the AI is not ever going to use any of the abilities at the bottom of the card. So at the end of the game, the AI is just going to score the number of points printed here. So this card would be worth 3 points for the AI. So in this case, this scorpion is scoring +2 for adjacent mountains, means this is a 2-point card for the AI, which is not huge. And I'd rather have something better than that, so I'm going to take from the top of the deck. And now I've got the Eureka Dunes as 1 point in my journey, and it gives me 1 point per hidden card in my scrapbook. And hidden cards, again, are those cards that are tucked behind another card that you can place when you rest and move a card into your scrapbook. But because I took this from the face down deck, I have to keep it in my tableau, which is now dangerous because if I get another sun, I am going to bust and lose those cards. But it is the AI's turn. The animal print will not bust me, and the AI does not have any animals, so this will go into the AI's journey, and we flip again. Coyotes score if they're adjacent to other animals for me. I don't have any other animals, but it's dangerous that if I take this card, it may end up being a sun. Yeah. And I know that Scotty's Castle is going to save this card if I bust, which is good. And I don't really care about these dunes yet. I don't have any hidden cards. And if I keep this in my scrapbook, the scrapbook cards don't go away when you bust. So that means I would have 2 suns always. And every time I get a sun again, I would bust. And I'm not thrilled about that. So I'm not going to work extra hard to save that one. I will flip over the next card, which is great. It's an animal, but it says I'm getting a point for each adjacent sun. So I want to keep that, and I want to make sure it's near other suns, which it is right now. So that's great. AI goes, this will not bust. They do have an animal, so they take the top card from the face down. And now they have 2 water, so if another water comes up, they're in trouble. I'd rather not bust because I don't want to lose the snake. I could put the snake down here, but then I lose those 2 points, and that's not super helpful. And I could take the animal, but I don't really want that either. All right, let's see what happens. Let's hope for a mountain or maybe some water. It is a sun, which means I've got 1, 2, 3 suns, so I do bust. So that means that this card gets removed from the game, and I can use Scotty's Castle again to save this card, so it stays, but everything else gets shuffled back into the deck. All right. Then it is the AI's turn. Again, this will not cause me to bust. It already has an animal, so it will draw the next card, which is a sun. I'm going to put this down here. This is not a scrapbook for the AI. I'm just sort of running out of space, so it's easier for me to put it here than have it running off the side of camera. And then it is my turn. Again, this scores next to other animals, and I'm not real thrilled with that right now, so I'm going to take this next card, which is another sun, which could cause some serious problems. And it says, after I rest, I can swap the face-up card with a card in my journey. So that could help me possibly save myself later. Again, the AI does not want this card. It's going to take the next one, which is another sun. That's great because it could have killed me. I don't want this animal still, so I'm going to really hope for no sun. Great, I get a mountain. And this mountain is the one that says 1 point for each visible card in my scrapbook. So I'm going to keep that because I have to. AI again draws from the top of the deck. And there's the third sun, 1, 2, 3. So this card is removed from the game, and all of these cards get shuffled back into the deck. All right, it is my turn. And this card has no stars, means it's not scoring anything special for being in my journey. And this double sun still bothers me, but I'm going to stick with it. I'm going to move this. I'm going to do my first rest action and rest to move this down here. It means even if I bust, this mountain will never go away. So I am scoring from now on, 1 point for each card in my scrapbook. So I would like to start resting a little bit more than I have been. This will not bust me, so the AI is going to take that card to start its new journey. This turns over and it's my turn. This again is that water card that lets me prevent a card from going away when I bust. And it does score me a point. Yeah, I'm going to take it and see what comes out. I'm worried that it's a sun. It's not a sun. This will not make me bust, so it does go to the AI because they don't have any water yet. And the next one comes up. This snake would be great to have if I could get rid of something to put this next to a sun. And actually, I think I might do that. If I rest with this card, it's going to move down here, which means I score 1 more point for this. I will lose that 1 star, but this saves something adjacent to it, so it would still save what's ever in this location. So I'm going to move this here. And then this card says, after you rest, you may swap the face-up card with a card in your journey. So this is the face-up card, and I don't want to have these double suns, but I do like the extra points for every 2 stars. So I am going to swap this and this like that. Now this snake is next to a sun, and this snake will be saved in case of a bust. And the AI goes next. This will not bust me. The AI has no sun. It gets placed in its journey. Next card is shown. All right, Badwater Basin, 3 points. And it's going to prevent any other water cards, as you can see. Other water cards do not earn points from stars or abilities. So if I have this, my other water cards will not be scoring me any points. But this is not scoring me any points anyway. And it doesn't say I can't use my ability, just that I can't score points from my ability. So that's not the end of the world. But it does mean I'd have 2 water cards, and if another one came out, I would bust. And that's a tricky situation. And right now I only have 1 of each, so nothing's going to cause me to bust. I'm going to choose the next one and see what happens. The next one is a sun. I get plus 2 points for every water in my journey or scrapbook, and I have 1 water. So we'll hold that there. But that is a little bit dangerous. The AI is going to not take this water. It doesn't make me bust, so it takes the next card, which is another animal. So if there's another animal in the AI's row, it will bust. But for me, this water is going to score me extra points for this card. But it's also super dangerous to have double water and double sun. So I'm going to actually rest because this sun has no points anyway, and I'm going to put this down here in my scrapbook. That adds 1 more point for this, and it automatically locks in 2 points for this. So I don't mind that. Again, this water does not cause me to bust, but the AI doesn't need it, so they will draw from here, and they get their first mountain. Now's where things gets tricky for me. If I draw this and it's a sun, I bust. If I take this water and put it here and the next card is a sun or a water, the AI will give it to me and I bust. Yeah. But extra water and extra 3 points would be great to have. Yeah, I'm going to take that and cross my fingers. The next card is a mountain, which is great because it doesn't make me bust. The AI doesn't need it. So the AI takes the next card, which is a sun, and is still safe for the AI. And I can take that mountain without busting. But then I've got 2 mountains, 2 water, and 2 suns, and I'm almost definitely going to bust. But the chances of the next card not causing me to bust are pretty slim as well. So I'm going to take this and cross my fingers that the next card is an animal. Probably not. Nope, the next card is a mountain, means the AI is going to give it to me. This is my 3rd mountain, which means 1, 2, 3, I bust. This gets removed from the game, and these go away. Now, I can choose to keep this snake if I want to. But realistically, this snake is going to score points for being adjacent to sun, and if I keep it, it's going to slide here. And the best I can hope for is 1 more sun, so I don't desperately need that. I'm going to get rid of it. And the AI just gave me that mountain, so it's my turn again. I don't want a second mountain right away, and this scores me nothing unless I can hide some cards under it, and I don't have any cards to hide. So I'm going to take this card, which is amazing. Devil's Golf Course, again, gives me 5 points. If it's in my journey, I would lose 2 points for every sun in my journey, but right now there aren't any. So I'm happy to have that. No, I'm not. Because instantly the AI is going to give me this card, which is 3 mountains, and this gets discarded, and this gets shuffled back into the deck. The good thing is that there's less and less mountains left in here. And if I can get that card again, that would be wonderful. All right. This is a water card that doesn't score me anything on its own, but will score 3 points if it has cards both to its left and right, which right now is useless to me. So I am going to take this. And this is that snakes card we had before, 2 points, an additional point next to sun, which it's not right now, but it could be. The AI does not need water. It will not bust me, so it takes this card, which is a mountain, and is that 5-point mountain, which is not good for me. I really hope that the AI can bust soon. So I can either take this or the next card, I don't want this, so let's see what comes next. That's the water that invalidates this, but that's great because I score off of this. Now, AI doesn't want water. It has 2 animals, it has 2 sun, it has 2 mountains. So if this is water, it's the end of the game. But if it's a sun, a mountain, or an animal, they bust. It is a sun. So this is 1, 2, 3. This card is removed, and the AI has just busted again. So we will shuffle these in. That was a lie. That was a lie. Let's put those back out. I'm sorry. That was a mistake because this water will cause me to bust. So the AI doesn't take this. It gives me this card. So this gets discarded. These get shuffled back in, but I'm actually going to save this one this time, and that goes here. So this gets shuffled back into here. And that was the AI that just gave me that water. So this flips up. And I get to take my turn, which is either going to be this card or this card. This one's going to give me 2 points plus 1 point for every 2 stars in my journey, which is probably not a bad thing to have because I know it's not going to bust me as the last card. And it guarantees me 1, 2, 3, 4 points. So I'm going to take that card. There's only 1 card left in the deck, so that triggers the end of the game. So now we move into final scoring. I'm going to start with the AI. The AI again scores per star as well as the points as written on the card, except, we'll show you in just a minute, they don't score negative points that are listed on the card. So starting with stars, the AI is going to score 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 points. And then they're going to score based on what it says at the bottom. So this one says +1, so that's 11. +1 again is 12. +2 is 13, 14. This is -2, which doesn't mean anything. +2 more is 16. And then +3 more, 17, 18, 19 points. I think I'm in serious trouble. Again, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19 points. For me, I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Then +1 for every 2 stars in my journey means 1, 2, 3, 4 is another 2 points is 6, 7. This gives me 1 for each visible card in my scrapbook, 8, 9, 10. This does nothing for me, and this gets me 2 for every water, 11, 12, 13, 14. So unfortunately, I've just lost 14 to 19 against the AI. There's also a slightly more difficult mode if you want to play that way. All of the cards that have been discarded from the game would also be added to the AI score, so they would have had 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24. So in that case, I would have lost 14 to 24, which is very, very bad. At this point in a normal review, I do like to look at the components, but again, this is a prototype. All of the things that you see here on the table in front of you are just printed on a regular printer and just stuck into sleeves with other cards. So nothing here is representative of the final quality of the game. But I am going to put a couple pictures up here on the screen right now just because I feel that the artwork in this game is absolutely gorgeous, and I do want you to see a better representation of the art. And also, I'm really a big fan of what they've done with the wallet for this game, so I'm going to post that picture up here as well, just so you can see what that looks like, because I think the artwork shines, and it's very important for you to see that. Now, with all that being said, meet me back up top, and I'll let you know what I think about the game. Welcome back. I hope you enjoyed the playthrough. I did get kind of crushed by the AI, but I still had quite a bit of fun doing it, and that sort of sums up my feelings about this game all around. I really enjoy this game quite a bit, and it is definitely a challenge every time I play. I think that may be the worst I've ever done against the AI, but there have definitely been quite a few losses along the way. But not always. It's not crushing, it's not going to destroy you. I've also won quite handily on occasion as well, even with that medium difficulty level, with those extra points thrown in for those discarded cards. But let's get into the game. Let's talk about what it is about this game that really gets to me. Now, If you're a fan of Button Shy and you've played any of their other games, I'm going to use sort of an analogy or a comparison to some of their other games first to let you know what it is about this game or how I feel about this game, and then we'll dig more into this specific game. But this game feels to me kind of like a cross between Tussie Mussie and Ugly Griffin Inn, and that's great caliber. If you've seen either of my reviews for those games, I love both of those games quite a bit. So to have that mixture and that entanglement of these two different worlds or two different types of game really works for me. But let's talk about what I mean by that. Tussie Mussie is a card drafting game where every round you're presented with one card face up and one card face down, and you're drafting one of those cards and you're adding it to your tableau. Your tableau has two rows. In that case, it's called the bouquet and the keepsake. But in this case, it's the journey and the scrapbook. It feels very similar to me in that way. There are two rows of cards, and the cards are going to score based on where they're placed and what they're adjacent to. And just like in Tussie Mussie, the cards have scoring themselves, meaning the stars on those cards, just like the hearts on the cards in Tussie Mussie. And the cards also present abilities and or scoring conditions that are printed directly on that card. So if you enjoy that piece of Tussie Mussie, that's here again, and it's just as enjoyable in this game. The draft itself is also a little bit similar. Yes, there's not as much to the draft. You're not offering or being offered these cards. There is no I cut, you choose kind of mechanism here. But I'm still presented with a face-up card and a face-down card, and I'm pushing my luck, choosing from those cards, and so that feeling is still there. Now, I said the game is also reminding me of Ugly Griffin Inn, and that's because of that sort of three and bust concept. In Ugly Griffin Inn, if any of the people in the inn, if three people at the bar matched any of the symbols at the inn, then the people at the inn would run away because they were irked by the patrons at the bar. And that's that same idea. If you have three of a specific kind of icon on the cards, then you're basically clearing something from the game. And this does it in a slightly different way, but it's the same idea. There's this sort of push your luck mechanic, both from Tussie Mussie and from Ugly Griffin Inn combined here, that's sort of twisted in a very interesting way. I'm drafting cards hoping that I can score in the best possible way with the cards that I'm drafting, not only based on the cards that score themselves, but also how they're affecting other cards that I've already drafted or I will be drafting in future rounds. And then I'm also constantly on the lookout for this possibility of busting and busting and busting. And that's what ended up destroying me, or ended up making me lose so badly in this game, is that I wasn't able to cause the AI player to bust again before the end of the game. So they had a huge tableau, and that's where they got all those points from. So now that I've made those comparisons and given you sort of a baseline to work with, let's talk more about this game, because this game is why you're here, and this game is not just a combination of Tussie Mussie and Ugly Griffin Inn. There's a whole lot of other stuff going on here. First off, the AI. Yes, Tussie Mussie has an AI in its solo mode, but it's not as directly competing as this one is. And this is really cool because I am constantly thinking, do I add cards to my own tableau to improve my conditions? Do I add a card into the AI's tableau to hopefully cause them to bust? What's the AI going to do? Meaning, what kind of card is the AI going to take, and how can I plan for that? And what's coming out next? Because I know that if the AI can make me bust, the AI is going to make me bust. So I need to be constantly thinking about, what is the AI going to do? How can I help myself? But how can I also make sure that the AI busts so it doesn't score a whole lot of points? And that's where I messed up this time through, because I should have been working harder to clear some of those cards from the AI so that its score was low. My 14 wasn't great, but it wasn't horrible. I just allowed the AI to get far too many points in this game, and that's what happened. That was the problem this time. And this challenge of not only press your luck for myself, not only smart decisions about drafting cards, but also how I interact with the AI really adds this nice level to it. Now, the other thing that's very interesting about this game that's different from both of those other games I mentioned is this rest mechanic. The ability to move cards from my journey into my scrapbook. Now, those cards are still going to cause the bust. They still count towards that 3 icon, but those cards will never be erased. The problem, though, is that any card you place in your scrapbook is not scoring on the stars that are printed on the card. So you have to be willing to sacrifice some points to lock that card in and keep it and make sure it's permanent to hopefully score points in other ways. So for example, I had that card at the bottom that was scoring on water cards. So I knew that I could add more water cards toward the end of the game to score points on that. Some of the cards don't have stars on them, so it's safer to put them into the scrapbook. Other cards, like that one mountain card that has 5 stars on it, if you put it in the scrapbook, is completely useless, so you wouldn't ever do that. So you have to be careful about what you're putting into the scrapbook, when you're putting things into the scrapbook. Now, also, if you have 2 of one symbol in the scrapbook, you have to understand that anytime from now on, if that card comes up, you instantly bust and lose everything. So you really have to be thoughtful about what's going in there, when it's going in there, how it's scoring, what you're sacrificing to put things into there. And this extra level of thought, combined with the interaction with the AI, combined with the card drafting, combined with the scoring that reminds me of Tussie Mussy, combined with the push your luck that reminds me of Ugly Griffin Inn, all of this together makes for a really, really, really fulfilling and challenging game. I can only imagine moving forward there will be expansions. There are usually expansions for Button Shy games, and if they just throw in a few more cards with a few more scoring conditions and even 1 or 2 new ways the cards interact with each other, this game has legs, and I could see it lasting for quite some time. I really, really like this game, and I would definitely rank this up with some of the great Button Shy games. So I was very glad to get a chance to play this. I'm very glad to be able to share this with you. There's also a multiplayer game. Of course, the multiplayer game is the main version. I haven't played it yet. As normal, I focus mostly on solo games. But just reading the rules and seeing how this plays multiplayer, if you have any interest in games like Tussie Mussy and you do like a 2-player puzzly kind of tableau builder game, definitely check this out. Now, in the multiplayer game, you are only drafting cards to place into your own tableau. However, there is a second variation that's called the backseat driver variation, in which case you could place that face-up card in your opponent's tableau, and then it plays a lot like your interaction with the AI in the solo. And I suspect that when I do finally get to play this multiplayer, I would definitely play with that, because that adds more interaction and more sort of head-to-head competition with the opponent, and I think that would be a whole lot of fun. So again, this definitely stays in my collection. This definitely gets played quite a bit, and I cannot wait to try out the multiplayer. And I definitely recommend that you check out this game on Kickstarter, or if you missed the Kickstarter, check it out on the Button Shy website. I will place a link below for the Kickstarter campaign as it launches. If this seems like something you're interested in, definitely head over and check it out. If you've missed the Kickstarter, definitely head over to the Button Shy website and do the same. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please like and subscribe below, and I'll see you next time. Thanks.